Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
And I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. We are proudly brought to you in association with SA Partners, a world-leading business transformation consultancy. SA Partners are a truly purposeful company focused on helping organisations achieve sustainable improvement for themselves, others, and the planet.
Today I have a good friend on the show who's a prolific author of award-winning books and a guest of the show multiple times, Dr. Morgan Jones. Today we're talking about his book Sponsor Success, which is focused on the part leadership play in sponsoring the success of an enterprise excellence journey and projects and everything that go with it. Defining team and project purpose is a key element of this that we learn about today. To help with this, we've loaded an infographic with further detail on the process of defining a project purpose or a team purpose to help with enterprise excellence. Just go to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast website under downloads or resources as it's named on the web to get hold of the document. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome to episode 144 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. I'm so pleased to have Dr. Morgan Jones back on the show with us today. Morgan's been a key contributor to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, such a prolific author, written so many amazing books, and back with us today to talk on his book Sponsor Success, which is largely about the leadership part, senior leadership part, and the importance it plays in any sort of excellence journey. So it's going to be a really amazing conversation. I found this book such an easy, fast, great read, Morgan, and really appreciate it, mate. And mate, what led you to put this book together?
Well, that's really interesting because when I was at Caterpillar, I was a senior leader, and they said, "Oh, Morgan, you're a GM. Off you go. You can sponsor a Six Sigma project." So we were rolling out Lean Six Sigma. And okay, do I get trained? No. You're a senior leader. You know what to do. So, I just winged it. And then realised, so we did a lot of stuff, and we had a number of consulting houses to actually help us develop our program. And one of the things was getting feedback from the team and the master black belt. So at the end, you get the team gets reviewed and their performance, the black belt for leading the project, and then I got one too. And my feedback from the team was, "Yeah, Morgan, we delivered your solution." I said, we delivered more than we planned. And they said, "Yeah, Morgan, you didn't listen." So what do you mean? He said, "Look, we delivered your solution." Because I was a technical expert in this space. And they said, "It wasn't our solution. It delivered, but it wasn't ours." Yeah. So part of mine was, no one actually trained me to be a good sponsor and figure out. So I did a lot of research and figured out some lessons learned and go, okay, how do I change this into, just be really clear on the outcome. And then what is it I need them to deliver? And then context, and then step back. And then said, well, okay, over to you. You develop the solution. It may not be the one I would probably come up with. It doesn't matter. It's your solution, but you're accountable for it delivering. Yeah. And that was a really interesting one. So that's where the initial book came from. So and it's built around 8 C's. So 4 C's for actually, what you do. And part as a sponsor, providing criticality or context. I was struggling with it. Should be criticality or context? Why is really important. It's getting that why piece, the Simon Sinek. Yeah. It's really, as human beings, really understanding the why this is important. What's the impact to our customers or our team, or staff, etc.
That's neat. So you got the first C on what you do is all about that purpose. That was really intuitive of you, mate, too, because you were writing this prior to all the Simon Sinek work or anything like that came out, weren't you?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because, and I boiled it down, and the theme of the book, I sort of challenged to say, well, how do you build capabilities? There's lots of checklists and how you review your performance through a DMAIC, so that the Six Sigma methodology, sort of framework. But actually, as you go through this, it's stepping back and going, actually, my role is to guide and to coach and develop. and challenge them. So rather than saying yes or no, I challenge them. Do you think you're doing it enough? So I developed my coaching skills. I had done a lot of neuroscience before that, but I took it to the next level. And how do I coach the capabilities so they don't look to me for the answers as a sponsor?
Yeah.
I'm the business owner. They're the ones delivering the solution and executing and challenging us. And then in the end, we say, well, what do you need from me as a sponsor? Because that was the sort of thing. Yeah, I'm the expert. But what do you need me to do? Do you need do you want me to act as a coach, or do you need? And I'll give you some context if you want. Yeah. So that's where the book came from. So there was the 4 hows and the 4 what. So coaching was an important one, and we talked before around communication. Yeah. And our communication's hugely powerful, and what we tend to do is use lots of big words.
Yeah.
And simplicity didn't quite fit my 8 C's model for 4 C's for what and 4 C's for how. So it was all about, communication was how do you keep it simple? And then bring it back to the criticality. The Simon Sinek's why. Yeah. Because if you get people focused, it's great.
Yeah.
So your north-south piece, east-west, all of that is how do you get the project to deliver on time.
Wow. So it's really for anyone in a senior leadership position looking to sponsor or lead an excellence journey. But also it could be, I guess, applied to a large project situation in that regard too. So, well, you got the four whats and the 4 hows, which I love how you condensed it down to that simplistic system. So, mate, do you mind, of the 4 whats, what are the 4 whats? And let's work through them.
Let's just have a look.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, the whats come out of, in the chapter 4. Yeah. So I've got an introduction about DMEG and whatever, and why sponsoring change. So in chapter 4, I talk around clarity. Absolute clarity. What is the problem or opportunity we're trying to solve?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is this the problem, or are we talking symptom?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was the important bit. And then the next one was criticality. Now, this is the Simon Sinek is why is this important to do now? What's the real impact on our customers? Now, quite often we say, oh yeah, but this is costing us. But what's the impact on service? What's the impact on our staff? Extra work, waste, frustration, having to re-enter data from one database into another database. An example was CBA, where you rang up and your personal details were held in different systems. So you rang up if you want to change your address. Even though you bought a house and got a mortgage for them, you had to ring up and tell them your new address for your mortgage. And then you had to ring a different number to change your bank address. And then you go to your insurance and ring another one. So that piece about, so that critical, what's the impact of customers? Well, if I'm going to ring up, I may as well check somebody else who can give me a better deal. The third one's about commitment. And this is about committing the time and resources to get whatever piece of work is done.
Yep.
It's not just, I support you. Yeah, but I have to be visible support. Do I turn up at meetings? Do I come for reviews?
Yeah.
Do I have, commitment? Oh, I'll give you whatever you want, but I'm a distant sponsor. No. I'm committing my time because this is important to me and to us as a business.
Yep.
And the other thing was consistency. What you're going to provide is, be there, and why is it, and if things change, you have to tell people. So part of all this that consistency is an interesting one. From a general leadership, everybody looks for consistency from the leaders. So that's the 4 whats. So it's clarity, criticality, commitment, and consistency. Those are the things of what you do as a leader. And I said, well, and I split that and go, well, then in chapter 5 we talk around the hows. Now, the hows are really interesting because we had lots of debates about Morgan, the charter, for example. Isn't that a what you do? And I said, well, actually, no, it's a how. Because the charter is just a document, but it's about getting everybody to agree. Not only the problem you were working on, but what the measures of success were. Because that was quite often difficult. So the charter, who needs to be involved? Who needs to make decisions? Who needs to be part of the steering group? So that was so that's how the charter is a physical document you sign, but getting the charter documented up is how you do it. The next one is about change management, and you've got to understand is your peers and even you may go through change, and they might tell you something that you didn't expect. The next one is about coaching. You know, as I explained my story, it was like I thought I was mentoring. I was telling them here's the answer, and realised actually there was a lot more horsepower in there. If I enabled them, they could have come up with something even better.
Yeah.
So and it's quite liberating. And the last but not least is communication. You know, and that's a challenge, because simplicity, we want lots of big words, and as leaders we can stand in front of a team and talk to it a lot. Well, actually, it's really, really powerful communication, simple words.
Yeah.
And it's not only it's not the volume, you know, how many slides, is how simple is the slide.
Yeah.
So that, the essence I really wanted to bring out was simplicity.
Yeah.
But simplicity didn't quite fit my my 4 C's. So I brought it out in the communication. But if you follow the 4 steps, in the what you deliver and 4 hows, drive simplicity comes across all of them.
Well, I think you've made it simple, mate, with the 4 whats and the 4 hows with C's. You know, like it makes it easy to understand. So, mate, the first one is clarity, which I can understand in the what's, that if you're not clear on, in a way, mate, is that like the vision and where we're going and clarity of what we need to overcome?
Yeah, well, yeah, and actually be specific of what are we trying to fix? You know, is this an opportunity? Because, you know, when we go through that and sponsoring a few projects, and I used to have one of my black belts, we nicknamed him Terminator, because people would come up with ideas, projects we started, and as soon as you got the data, you go, it's not really a problem at all.
Yeah.
We're actually looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So that you know, really being specific, are we treating the root cause? And rather than saying, here's opportunity, be really clear that everybody aligns on the measures of success.
I can see the need for it, because I've seen myself in a lot of parts of my career where someone said, just go do this, and there's no clarity behind what we're doing. People go off and just can burn a lot of time or be confused, and because they're confused, they just don't even get started.
Yeah, so quite often the big mistake is simplicity goes back into, that problem statement. Actually, people have paragraphs.
Yeah.
No. Just be really clear. Put it in. You know, always go and say, well, you've only got half the words now. What would you tell me?
Yeah.
You know, get to a simple sentence. So if you don't really understand it, and what normally happens, people expect that absolute, you know, sort of clarity up front, and sometimes you have to go and dig in and get some data, and then you go, this is the initial problem. We've got some data, and now here's actually we think this is the new problem we're working on. Does everybody agree? Yeah.
Once we get to that analyse phase, things can start to shift.
Yeah, so you got your measure, and let's just base it on fact, because quite often you get up and go, how do we know this is a problem? Well, we've had some customer complaints.
Yeah.
Let's dig down into real understanding. Or we've got our employee survey, engagement survey in.
So the clarity can evolve and start to focus more as you start to go through your DMAC or your define, measure, analyse, improve, control steps. Mate, with criticality, I understand that, you know, getting clearer on the why, that purpose behind it, and really, I guess, fueling that energy. Mate, the commitment, what do you see as good commitment of a leader or sponsor, sponsoring a transformation or sponsoring a project?
Well, the interesting thing, when we talk about commitment, it's actually turning up, being visible. When they're having a problem solved, just come in and see them. They go, oh, you are interested. Because that's it. That commitment piece is, I value this enough. I'm fairly senior, but I'm going to give you my time because I think this is important. And it's a really interesting leadership shadow you cast when you do things like this. The commitment is, I will turn up to every meeting, and I will have regular meetings with my black belt and my project manager. Okay, where are you? What support? What do you need me to do to help you? And sometimes it's, I need more budget, or, well, you know, I just don't magically give me a business case. Yeah. So it's about coaching their capability. Here's what we need. Here's the more extra capital for our improved phase. Here's our proposal. Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's
and mate, does that link to the final C of the what, which is consistency? Is it like consistency, like consistently being on that behaviour of when someone just comes to you with something that's a bit wishy-washy, going, well, okay, well, what's the data behind it? Give me the business
absolutely.
case.
So they know, when you talk about consistency, sort of thing. That's a really interesting. This stems not just from sponsoring, in this case, Six Sigma projects. It's around being consistent. They go, if I'm going to go and ask Brad, I know he's going to ask me questions.
Yeah.
He's going to ask the tough ones. Where's the data? What evidence have I got? Is there anything else we can explore? What are the constraints? So,
what's the root cause?
Yeah, so they know that you're not going to, they can't just waffle their way through. So being consistent is is an interesting one, because what you then do is, again, part of those, you start to cast a really strong shadow. Expectations.
Yeah.
My expectation is you will deliver. This is the project. We've agreed what the, up in the charter, what's the measures of success. I will commit my time, and I expect you to commit your time.
Yeah.
Because quite often the transformations aren't always full-time roles.
Yeah.
So how are you balancing your workload? I'm busy. I've got other things too. I'm accountable, but I'm giving you my time. But that consistency, you're going, yes, but going back, the consistency. Remember what this problem's trying to solve. We understand the criticality. So being
consistent
like a broken record sometimes.
It sounds like you're really saying, mate, like you're consistent around some critical ideal behaviours that you want to exude through the process. I guess you're going to shift culture that way too, through that consistency.
Because they know, if Morgan says, do you mind if I ask one question? Yeah. That was always the team used to know, oh God, we've missed something.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I've just got one or two simple questions.
Yeah.
And then they go,
Mate, with the section then, that's the what's. Then you come to the hows of sponsoring success in an effective way. And we come to the first C, which is the charter, mate. What makes for a good charter? What components do you see are really important for a project charter or a transformation charter? Or I guess...
Well, anything is like, what's the problem or opportunity? What's the context? What often you do is people think it all as one. Here's the context. Here's if it's an opportunity, or here's customer complaints. Give me the detail in there. But then this is the specific target of what we're trying. Then the next most important piece is, how will we measure success? And that's not just, and I always go into this and say, measured success isn't just dollars. Yeah. Or cost saving time. But it's also behaviours. It's alignment. It might be customer satisfaction. It might be staff satisfaction. Yeah. What are the behaviours we're trying to align? Because you might have a lot of variation across different sites. Yeah. How do I align this? So, get the safety record of every site being at a higher level. Yeah. And that's getting everybody to have the same sort of beliefs and values.
Okay, so it can be very much on that project, more clinical, fact and figure type of way, with being clear on the future state, being clear on the measures. But then also you've got this humanistic factor, which could be looking at the behaviours that we're looking to achieve.
Well, it's sort of, the Y and X is in the Six Sigma world they used, which is, you have a couple of KPIs, key behavioural indicators, as well as the KPIs. KPIs are outcomes. Yeah. Here's the results. Yeah. But the KPIs is, how do I want people to use this new solution? How do I want them to align, believe? What do I want to say? So it's getting you to start thinking about, so when we put the solution in place, how will it feel? Yeah. Yeah. And they go, oh, that's a bit fluffy. I'm an engineer. I'm an accountant. I don't deal with feelings. And that's HR stuff. Yeah. And that's part of where the charter. So you really got to have the problem context, the measures of success, and then who needs to be involved. Yeah. And it might be making sure the team has diversity. Yeah. And that's not just gender and racial. It's more around diversity of thought. Get people, when you get marketing, get some supplier functions, get a customer, get a supplier in, get other people in there to actually get involved, to really test the thinking, and are we looking at this problem the right way? So when you come to root cause, then you can come up with different solutions, or you might have add extra team members in the solution phase. Yeah. Because you go, okay, now we've got all the techie, geeky people who've actually worked out the root cause. Now let's bring in the extra stuff to help us.
Yeah, I can imagine it's diversity of thought, and so much in that charter section, and I think it's a great read, Sponsor Success, to go deeper into that charter. The change bit, mate, I guess with any project you're doing or any transformation you're doing, it's all about change, isn't it? What would be the key tip in there around change that you would mention that you'd write about in the book?
Well, the bit I talk around is okay to feel uncomfortable, because it may be, as the sponsor, they may be challenging, because you may have invented what they're trying to fix. So they might tell you your baby's ugly because it's yours.
Yeah.
The change piece is, it's okay to feel uncomfortable or to resist. It's just natural to go. Some people just say, oh yeah, great, let's write. And others go, no, I'm not going to do anything until I've seen proof.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Not so, oh, you're just being belligerent or difficult. It's no. This is all around actually understanding. Everybody goes on a journey, and people go, and how they behave can be. It's not just of where they are today.
Yeah.
There's lots of things happening in people's lives.
Yeah.
They may have had an argument with their partner. They may have just had a car accident. They may have. There are lots of things happening in their outside their work life that can actually influence how agile you are to change.
Yeah.
You know, and you're suddenly going, what normally, oh yeah. Today I'm just in a grumpy mood.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, if you see something, so change can be, you don't react straight away. Brad, you're suddenly starting to resist. How are you? And actually understand you as a human, to understand what's going on for you. You say, oh yeah, I've just had other things on my mind. That's okay.
Yeah.
So that's why the change piece is really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, there's lots of models, ADCAR, etc.
Yeah, Contest steps.
And the Contest steps is an awesome one.
Yeah.
You know, it's about start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
What does success really look like?
Yeah.
And that's not just results. It's how do you want people to be behaving? So there's an underlying thing of behaviours through this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, that's the result you're going to go for, isn't it? Because deploying a project or a new system or a new tool or anything, if you don't get the behaviour behind it, why even do it? You know, I had a conversation.
It won't stick, because it's a compliance thing.
I had a chat to a quality team just late last week. I was talking to one at a company, and they were talking about, look, our job's to get the system in place and to put the tool in place, and that's what we track. They were looking at their performance board. So, you know, we put the tool in, we get the system in. And I said, well, how does that help if it doesn't get used?
Yeah.
And they're like, huh? So I'm like, well, what's your leading behaviour indicators, the thing that you're behaviourally focused on to actually get behaviour change and truly get the results of the great things you're putting in with that system? And they're like, oh, we've got to coach and we've got to train and we've got to support and we've got to sponsor success. Yeah. And it was such an interesting conversation. It was such an eye-opener for them.
Well, it's interesting. There's an organisation who have won a Shingo award many years ago. It's called Autoleave, and they make seat belts and airbags. So the key thing for them is their product must work, not only when it goes out the factory, but it's got to work in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time. Yeah. When somebody has an accident. You want to know their product. So perfection, making sure it'll always work, but that's not really sexy. It's not really inspiring. You're in charge of quality control and perfection. Yeah. So what they did is really got a vision and purpose around saying we save lives. Yeah. And they go, we want to save you. We want you to go home to your family tonight because you've got our products in your car. Yeah. If you have an accident, we want you to be able to go home and give your children a hug. Yeah. And that then inspires them. And how you do that is by focusing on quality control. Yeah. So going in, but here's the tool. Yeah. So by focusing on the tool or the behaviour, which is about really putting yourself in and driving the right behaviours, which is thinking the impact of products not being 100% working.
Yeah. And you think of the power of, if you do find, I guess, listeners, that you may be in one of those roles where you're going through the paces and deploying just tools, reading a book like Sponsor Success will give you a lot of good insights on the 4 C's of what, because like if you go through those 4 C's of what, of the being the clarity, the criticality, you're going to start to set a lot of what you're talking about there, Morgan.
Yeah. And again, it didn't quite fit the C, but the whole thing through the simplicity of behaviours. Yeah, don't overcook it. Just make it simple. Yeah. This is probably the biggest challenge for all modern organisations. Yeah. Especially you get to matrix organising more. Or we feel like we're communicating, we actually tell. Yeah. Yeah. And communication, which is why in there, it's about simplicity, but it's also evolving to say, is this the, really resonating? So communication is, how do I know they've understood what I've just said?
Yeah. And I guess too, more when that comes to that third C of the hows, which is coaching. That, I guess, that humble inquiry, that open language that gets people to think and own and create themselves, doesn't it?
Well, I remember asking a question years and years ago when I first sponsored the project, and I said, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And I watched and I saw the reaction of the people, and they went, and I realised, why did you do that? Actually kicks the amygdala in, and it takes us back to school. When you why did you do that?
Yeah.
Brad, you being naughty. And suddenly you go into panic mode, where I changed the question and just said, what did you consider when you made that decision?
Yeah.
And I changed the tone and the language, and the reaction was totally different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we thought about this and that. And from a coaching perspective, all I was saying is, you haven't considered there's things you missed.
Yes.
However, rather than telling them they were stupid and they missed all these important things, I just suddenly changed the question, and they went, oh.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. Like, even with root cause analysis, the 5 what caused that versus 5 whys. I think there's even a different context there,
Yeah.
And maybe in certain countries it doesn't play out as strongly, but definitely in Australia, why you can feel like you're back in the classroom.
Yep.
And then, but what is softer, isn't it? There's something more soft around the use of what.
What did you consider? And this is, what the other favourite in coaching is, what would it take to change your mind? So you go back to the change piece.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what would it take to change your mind? Nothing. You just repeat that back. So nothing would ever change your mind. And they go, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part of all this, it'll never work.
Yeah.
What would it take for you to consider, that it might work?
Yeah.
And then eventually they come up with lots of excuses, and they say, we could just give it a go.
Yeah.
So eventually just asking a simple question in a non-threatening way can actually be, so that coaching piece is it's like, sort of the judge. I'm not leading the witness honest, but it's a case of asking them really good questions so they come, because you're building capability in their critical thinking. I'm
guessing too that such a powerful learning area for a sponsor is constantly learning language, coaching language and great techniques. I know over the years I've had many great conversations with Morgan and learnt many great pieces of language that can be used in coaching situations, and I think it's a great part of what you've got in this book. The final one, mate, which links, is communication. The final C of the hows, 4 hows. Mate, what is it about communication, and what would you say is the most important aspect for people to consider being a good sponsor and being effective with communication?
Keeping it simple and keeping it regular.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. It comes down to, we tend to want to use big words. Use smaller words. If I'm using nomenclature, lots of acronyms and stuff. Yeah. You keep it simple, because if somebody will not know those acronyms, or they'll have different meanings in different business areas. Yeah. So for me, that communication piece is just keep it simple. And my test was always, get my 11-year-old niece. If you could tell her and explain it to her, she'd either tell you it was rubbish, and that's not quite the language she'd use, but ultimately, is it clear to somebody who doesn't know? Yeah, that's. Would you be able to tell your grandmother? Yeah. Oh, but they should know. Why should they? Yeah. You're making big assumptions. So using that communication is really powerful. Yeah. Avoiding the 4-letter acronyms and all those other things that we can get so tied up with doing. It's a really good tip. TLAs, FLAs, yeah. I know, it's a nightmare. Morgan, really appreciate the knowledge and what you've done in this book. It's such an important topic, and I've got to admit, mate, with everything that you've done, it's just, you wrote this book a while ago, and that part the leader plays in an excellence journey has just continued to amplify, hasn't it? And because I wrote the book because I realised when I was at the first sponsor of the first Six Sigma project, I wasn't set up for success. I didn't know what to do. Yeah. I'm smart. I'm running a business unit. However, I didn't know what to do. Yeah, good on you. And I thought, if I struggle, there's lots out there. So hence why I wrote some guidelines and put it together to go, well, if I struggle, I'm sure some others, I'm not stupid, but it might help somebody else. Yeah. And all the proceeds went to breast cancer as well, so it was quite a good charity.
Good on you, mate. So, Morgan, what would be your 2-minute enterprise excellence tip when it comes to being an effective sponsor?
Well, I think the tip would be is keep it simple,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that simplicity of where you're going, down to the strategy to execution, and be regularly consistent and do it. When you think you're over communicating, people are only starting to listen.
Yeah.
So keep it simple in language that they understand, not what you understand.
Yeah.
Because you have a bigger context. They just need to, in their world, how do you make the language has to be simple? Do it on a regular basis. So that enterprise,
Yeah.
alignment, and it's amazing if the simplicity can really drive our alignment.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Thanks. Well, what's been a recent insight for you, mate? What's been a recent learning you've had?
Well, it's really interesting because I wrote that, 12 years ago. And I came back and read it. I thought, this is quite, and the fact that I distilled it down to make it simple to read. And I used an analogy in the book of a chef. So if you're a celebrity chef, you're not there every single day for making every single dish.
Yeah.
But your reputation, every dish that comes out is your reputation.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting one as a sponsor. If projects are really successful, it's your reputation. If they don't succeed, no, you haven't sponsored well enough.
Yeah.
And that's a really, this is an interesting sort of dynamic.
Yeah. It is. It's powerful, isn't it? And going about the right way, which you wrote about in this book, can really help you get that outcome. Well, I really appreciate your time and knowledge and everything you have done and continue to do. I know we'll have more conversations in the future as you keep bringing out more great books. Mate, thanks for the time today talking about sponsorship success. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for helping us create a better future. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
What a great episode. Remember, you can go to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast website under the resources section to get hold of the Defining a Project Purpose or Team Purpose infographic to get more information on this key process. Please like, subscribe and share this podcast to help others gain insights and create a better future. There were 2 key takeaways for me from this episode. Firstly, commitment in sponsorship. Without sponsorship commitment and sponsors and leaders being there and owning it and supporting it and serving teams, it's very difficult for teams to go forward and achieve great outcomes. Often in sponsorship, leaders can be quite remote and very rarely engage in sponsorship. But the commitment is about being there, engaging, talking to the vision, the purpose of projects, inspiring, helping with culture, and importantly, helping remove impediments that rear up. Ultimately, sponsorship is a very important role that determines the ultimate success of a project in a big way. The second key takeaway for me was the power of coaching. Using our language effectively and our body language and our tone and what we say as leaders when it comes to being sponsors. Leadership behaviour plays a big part in culture. And a big part of behaviour of leadership is what we say and how we say it. In coaching, there are some great language techniques that can really help with this. You think about it with the GROW model, there's a coach model that we've spoken about previously, there's feedback models, so much resource that people can go and gain and learn from. Again, most of these are loaded up on the Enterprise Excellence podcast website under the resources section. It's a great topic of enterprise excellence. Such an important aspect is our language as leaders and being a sponsor, and being able to actually coach success, coach people to grow and reach their potential. Thanks again for your time and knowledge, Morgan. Thanks for helping us create a better future. Bye for now.